Basically, we are living in the era of information explosion, and we are dealing with a lot of information coming from a number of thousands and lakhs of sources also. Professor Selvan, he has vast experience and expertise in, especially in media literacy. So on this topic, I want to request Professor K.S. Arulselvan to talk about what is information explosion and how students or general public also can deal with this flood of information and find out the relevant, credible information from this information flood.
Actually, the last 25 years, we are living with various online and digital platforms. The previous generation, previous 2-3 generations, if you look into that, we were limited to newspapers, at the most radio, occasionally television. And that too, content are produced by professionals. And they have set of rules, guidelines, ethics, and everything comes from various filtration. The number of information coming to the individual level or family level are limited, reliable, and controlled. Controlled in the sense, the way we are consuming, not in the way it's being produced. So that was the earlier generation. The invention of ICT, Information and Communication Technology, 95 onwards, if you look into that, the number of outlets gone up. First 10 years, it was limited because of we were not able to access the gadgets. From 2005 onwards, once the government liberalized the market for the telecom sector, then the introduction of mobile, and then the introduction of Web 2.0, all together, it became a kind of explosion. Explosion in the sense, anyone can produce, anyone can consume. We were just a passive audience earlier, even up to 2005. The Web 2.0, mobile and better connectivity, affordability made everybody a kind of active audience. So that's, we call it as a prosumer, producer and consumer and producer. That's about earlier being called. So automatically everybody started producing, and institutions are producing. Information is coming from various quarters, not necessarily within the national boundary, coming from global context. And information explosion, actually, Amit, is not a term coined in the recent past. It was coined before digital era. 1964, it got coined by a political scholar. Because of newspaper, a lot of radio stations. It was not that we haven't understood the concept in that period of time, but now it's aptly we can contextualize. And the information explosion, if you take in a very simplest definition, inability to take a decision based on multiple availability of data. We have data, but we are not able to conclude or take a decision for our requirement. This is called information explosion. So this is what happening that. Multiple sources, multiple outlets, Instagram, social media, online platform, television channels, multiple channels, newspapers, and SMS, WhatsApp. In a day, we'll bombarded with the information. For example, in 2020, it was measured that the human beings produced 2.5 quintillion amount of data. In the simplest term, I can say it's a billion of billions of data. If you quantify in terms of number of sheets, number of papers we can print out, it may not, we can't quantify that. It might take a number of generations for us to go through 2.5 quintillion of data. So that much data we are generating. Human beings are generated in 1 year. So now you can understand that the information explosion, we are living in that area. And on the top of that, we don't know how to control it. Majority of us, we had to admit that. We are opening newspaper in the online platform, television channels, parallelly we are looking, while driving, we are listening to radio, and meanwhile we are getting WhatsApp. So in a time, if you look at that in our normal day-to-day life, we are into information multitasking. unable to concentrate on many activity. We are consuming, we are doing multiple tasking. We are unable to concentrate on that. You're driving, similarly, parallelly, or listening audio broadcast or watching a movie, whatever we are doing that. Either we are concentrating on driving or listening or enjoying the music. So this is what to become a part of life in the contemporary world. And if you look at the history of media literacy intervention from 1970s onwards, the teaching profession, the educational intervention is considered to be one of the strongest intervention in mitigating this kind of information revolution. From the starting from Europe and went to the developing countries, and we are witnessing in many level. Schools, teachers, and university colleges played a major role and playing an important role in empowering youngsters how to handle the magazines. It was started in a magazine, came with the colorful pictures, then television, then internet. So teachers in many European countries, they have very strong educational curriculum to empower the youngsters to handle the media and the information system. The media literacy skills basically empowering the children or youngsters to control or handle the media, because the media content coming to us, it has various ramifications. It's not just produced by some individuals, some institutions. We need to understand it's a social, political, and economic background of the media content. So this is a basic crux of media literacy. I would like to quote certain important media literacy skills that is required to overcome the information explosion. This is according to Barron. He proposed 7 media literacy skills. If we are able to adapt into the 7 literacy skills, we can protect ourselves individually. One of the major recommended skill to control the information explosion is ability to make an effort to understand the content and filtering out the noise. You need to make out the difference between what is the noise and what is the actual content. In a communication, we know what is the noise means, the disturbance and unwanted content, unwanted element. If you are not able to figure it out, then we can't understand which is correct, which is wrong. So this is a primary skill required, which is the right content and which is a noise. We need to be able to distinguish. That is a major primary functionality required. And then we need to understand the power of media messages. Media messages are very powerful. We have many more critics, but the media system, media institutions are very powerful. It can change government. Remember that media content can change the government. That much powerful it is. So whenever the media messages comes, it has its own ramification, impact. The individuals need to understand the power of messages. This is the secondary level. The third level, they need to understand the difference between emotional content versus irrational messages. The many messages are created emotionally, and because automatically during any event, the victims or the people who suffer, they tend to give emotional response. We should not take it as it is. The face value, we should be able to differentiate the emotional and rational messages. The fourth one, we need to understand the development of heightened messages. Many times, many content is being promoted as the top 10 movies. This is a highly rated web series. These are self-promotional content. We should not buy those statements. We need to differentiate whether it's truly popular or not. Many times that is what happens, and we have to be very careful while dealing with that kind of statements. And the fifth one is we need to understand the grammar and the genre of media content. The reason is when there is a documentary on weight loss and there is an advertisement on weight loss, you can understand the difference. Documentary talks about the true facts and actual reality. It presents an actual reality on that, whereas the advertisements are projected promotional content. We need to find the difference between them. As an individual, I need to know what is the documentary, what is a docudrama, what is advertisement, what is a news program, what is a fictional one, what is a reality. So this much differences, we need to understand that. The sixth one is we need to have an ability to think critically about media messages. And every messages are produced reproduced, constructed. Remember that event is happening somewhere, but it's not coming to us directly. Somewhere in between, some reporter or some producer recreates the content and structure it in a text message or video content, and is being consumed by us. So we need to be very careful while reconstructing the messages. May not have 100% objectivity. Somewhere this individual bias might come there. So individuals needs to be very careful about the content produced by media system. The last one is we need to know about the internal language of media content. As Amit, you know about the media system, you can understand the camera angle, the lighting, the text messages, the color, the position. We know the media system, how we are playing with the messages. But the normal people may not have that much understanding that. Because every angle or every color, every position, it has its own meaning. We are putting some agenda behind that. So that may not be possible for normal people to understand that. So these are the some of the basic ability. It may not be able to develop the skill immediately. The educational intervention is very crucial, as has happened in the last 30-40 years in Europe, and is being promoted in many developing countries. And here in India also, CBCS and NCERT taking effort to introduce media curriculum in the school level, and needs to be expanded in a various level. And being a IGNOU and in the School of Journalism, we have taken a very active part in promoting media literacy skills.
Professor Selvan highlighted what is information explosion and how the media literacy skills can help students to fight with the challenges of information explosion, because information explosion has both advantages as well as challenges also. Thank you, sir.